Make sure it connects here. Alrighty. Making sure we are live, and we are live. Wonderful. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another live video from Boys Town Parenting. My name is Gabby. I am your host, and we go live every single month talking about a different parenting topic to help you, whether you have a child from toddlerhood all the way up to college. A lot of these tips can apply for many different age ranges. And today we are talking all about how to teach emotional resilience. So we're live here with our parenting expert, Bridget Barnes, and a very special guest, one of our authors from Boys Town Parenting, Gina. Hi, Gina. How are you?
I am good. Thank you for having me.
Good. It's wonderful to have you on. We'll go ahead and have you introduce yourself and tell us more about yourself and your new book that was recently released.
So my name is Gina Brush, and just last week, my third book with Boys Town was released. It's part of the Holly's Choice series. The title is Love, It's Show and Tell, and it goes along with the first two titles, which are Joy, More Than Wishful Thinking, Hope, More Than Wishful Thinking, and Joy, You Find What You Look For. And so, I've done a lot of work with emotional resilience, being on the teacher side of the desk, working with students and telling them that they can do it.
Wonderful. Yeah, it's great to have you on. We're excited to hear more about the book and more insight from you as we go through our live. And before we do that, we'll also have Bridget Barnes introduce herself. We have her on every month, but maybe you're a new viewer from Gina's side, or maybe you just found us recently. Bridget, tell us about yourself and your role at Boys Town.
Well, hello, everyone. I'm Bridget Barnes. I'm the director for Boys Town's Common Sense Parenting Program in Nebraska. I've worked with Boys Town for 40 years as a health and human services professional. I'm the co-author of two parenting books and I guess a content specialist or expert for Boys Town in regards to, different little practical tips that parents can use to improve their relationships with their children. I am a mom and I've been married for 43 years and a grandmother of 6. But I really love spending my time illustrating books. So that's how I know Gina, because we both know Julia Cook. And am I very much an enthusiastic person that loves to talk about, how parents and children can have better relationships. So I'm really excited about this week at Boys Town is our Teach Love Spirit Week. It goes from February the 10th through the 14th. So this is a timely topic to talk about how to teach children emotional resilience. So I'm just so happy to have Gina here today.
Yeah, definitely. And the title of your new book, Gina, Love, It's Show and Not Tell. Tell us a little bit about it. What inspired you to write it?
Actually, this was a book that it's a kid's book, but a lot of times it's the adult end of the spectrum, the parenting end of the spectrum, that provides the inspiration for my kids' books, because it's that you put a kid on your lap and you start reading a book. And I wanted the message to be there for kids, but I also wanted the message to be there for adults. And I think sometimes as adults, we get so caught up in our own lives and our own stuff that we forget that our kids have such great detectors when it comes to our authenticity. And if we say, oh, I love you, but it's not following through because, they're being shuttled aside or not paid attention to, it doesn't really matter what you say coming out your mouth if your actions aren't matching up with that. And so that was the core. But if you don't learn those things as a little kid, you don't magically have this information bestowed on you as an adult. This is something that you need to work throughout your life. And so that's where the book came from.
Yeah, definitely. And in that, thinking into our first question, what is emotional resilience and why is it so important to teach it at such a young age, as you mentioned?
Oh, teaching kids are born with a lot of emotional resilience. When you see a little kid learning how to walk, they are all in. They know they can do it. They see everybody else around them doing it, and they're just determined that that's something that they're going to learn how to do. And as life goes on and you get beat up a little bit more and challenges become a little bit more challenging, it's harder to keep that optimistic, I'm going to do it. And I love the idea that we really need to coach kids from that very early age that they can. This is something that you can do. You can keep doing this. You've done hard things before. You can keep doing hard things in the future. Because if there's one thing that you learn from this point in life, there's plenty of hard things in the future that you're going to come to. So the more emotional resilience skills you have, the better off you're going to be. The easier the adversity that you will inevitably face will become to deal with.
I agree with Gina on that point, that it's our kids' ability to bounce back from stressful or challenging situations and to be able to maintain their mental well-being, not just to get, hunkered down by that. So their ability to kind of adjust to change, that ability to be able to manage and control their emotions and have a sense or a knowledge of their own emotional well-being, like where am I at today, how am I feeling today, and having that optimistic kind of fostering hope, like I can do it, the little choo-choo train that goes up the hill, and that persistence. And I remember, I don't know about you guys, but I remember when my son was learning to tie a shoe, and I told this story before, so Gabby knows it because I've shared it, but and he was crying in the middle of the living room trying to tie this shoe, and I let him struggle in my presence, and that, but the day he learned to tie his shoe, I couldn't have bought that feeling for him. It was, his accomplishment. But parents really struggle, don't you think, Gina, to let kids struggle in their presence? They want to fix it right away for them.
It is so hard. I always recommend cooking with kids. Your kitchen is a great laboratory for that kind of thing. But truly, cooking with your kids, it's more about, as a parent, just learning how to bite your tongue to a bloody nub as you watch them struggle. It is so hard. But when they actually can break an egg for that first time and not get eggshell all over everything, so you're digging it out with the spoon, that, again, it's like you say, you can't buy that for them. They have to get that themselves. And there are a million small moments as you're raising kids to give them that opportunity to struggle, and remind them, you've done a hard thing before. When you learned how to tie your shoe, you're going to get this one too.
Yeah, I think that the behavioral health of parents is definitely connected to the emotional resilience of a child. And we actually did a study not too long ago on that with Common Sense Parenting, and the importance of behavioral health of parents and their ability to communicate that to children in a way that reduces the stress in a home and creates this environment of, growth and learning versus you must kind of environment. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And so much of that comes from love, right? We might be standing in the kitchen with our kid and the egg goes everywhere, or maybe they're scooping flour and it's like poof everywhere in the kitchen, and you just take a deep breath, and it can be frustrating, but when you're older, and your kitchen is perfectly clean, you are going to wish you had that back. And there's so
Absolutely.
much love. Definitely. So, Gina, I like what you said at the beginning of our live when talking about the book, saying how, we can say as parents, I love you, I love you, I love you, but how are we showing it? How do you think showing love and teaching love, which is a big theme at Boys Town, really plays in to teaching emotional resilience?
For me, love it's the safe place that you can go after you've been beaten up by the world. And it's a place where you can get a little rest before you have to go back out and meet everything head on again. You know, it's the place where you can be affirmed as a human being, not that you're rubber stamping every single thing that your kid does, but you are a good and valuable human being. We care about you, and that love that we feel for you is not contingent on your success or failure on this test or making this team or achieving this particular goal. It's
Right.
the love we feel is separate from that. We're happy for you when those things happen, but the love is there regardless. And I think that you've got to just say that over and over and over again, but you've also got to show it so that when they come home with that really bad grade because they were just screwing around and not doing it, it can be hard not to take out that mad on them. And that's when you got to grow your own self up and do your own work.
Yeah, I believe you're absolutely right about this unconditional love that we give to children. It's not like rubber stamping everything that they do, but it's creating that safe, secure place that I'm accepted for who I am, not for what I'm doing. And I think sometimes culture plays a part in that when I'm working with parents from different cultures where academia is very important. And when children don't meet that behavior, that parents kind of come down on that really hard and maybe indicate that the child isn't loved when they're not reaching a goal. Uh, but I recently saw some documentary on the difference between culture and that unconditional love, and that even though the kids might have gotten a lower score academically, they were more mentally, their mental health was better than the kids who got higher scores. So I think that it plays a big part in children's ability to be resilient against the world, like you said, Gina, and not just feel like, okay, I must prove every moment of my existence to my parents and to others, especially the parents. You want them to accept you for who you are and not just always what you're doing.
Yeah. When I was teaching I taught a lot of freshman English, and
Uh-huh.
one of the things that was interesting, the kids that I was teaching, it was a lot of kids that had gone to prep school, very upper middle class kind of thing. And literally, I was the first person in their life to ever give them a C, you know, or heaven forbid it be a lower grade than a C. You know, that was just like, whew. But there were all of these moments, you know, like, what is my mom going to say? What's my dad going to say when I show them this grade? They're not going to love me. They're gonna, you know, yell at me. They're, you know, just all of this host of negative things. And it's like, we really do have to do this all the way through, because I've got these 18-year-olds who are crying in my office because they're really legitimately scared that their value as a person is contingent on what grade they've made on this test, which I always told them, nobody in any job interview that I have ever had in my entire life has asked me what kind of grade I got on the second essay test that I took in an English class as a freshman.
Exactly. Right.
Nobody cares. Move on. Get on to the next one. Do better
Right.
next time.
Right. The effort you're making is what we should be praising. That unconditional love is praising the effort and not necessarily the grade. So when kids go out into the real world, if they have the capability of making effort in their jobs or making effort in their life, that will come true, you know, come to fruition. The praise that and encouragement that parents give.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely. So, with that being said, there's definitely a balance, right? So, how can parents balance showing love and support while teaching children how to manage challenges and setbacks, like, you know, performing poorly on a test, for example?
Big question. You know, one of the things that I think helps with stuff like that is really normalizing failure as a part of life. Every single day, we all succeed and fail in different ways. And you love your kids, but you know, they are going to fail, but I'm going to fail. And that was one of the things that, like when Wyatt was little, you know, oh, we gardened a lot. And that was another great laboratory for failure. Believe me, it was a great laboratory for failure. You know, I come home with I've been to the box store, I have my plants, I have all my stuff, and I think I'm going to love and nurture all these plants, and they still die. And I'd look at him and I'd say, I'm just gonna have to try again next spring, because this is we did our best, but we can't keep every plant alive. Obviously, we cannot keep every plant alive because we got a whole bunch of dead ones right here in the front yard. But when we normalize our own failure, and I think kids empathize with us as adults, that when you've got little kids, they think you're magic because you can reach like the peanut butter that's on the third shelf, and it's like, oh my gosh, the power that you have, this is just incredible. You can make food and you can do all these stuff, but you know what? You can't grow plants, Mom.
You kill everyone.
Yeah. And so you show the whole of yourself to your kids, and that means that when you fail, you own it with them. I've looked at him at times and you just go do something else, because I'm a hot mess right now, and I'm angry, I'm mad. We don't need to be together because I can't be a good person for you at this moment. So I'm going to go get my own rocks in a box here, and then we'll get together in a little bit. I think that goes a long way toward making it okay when he can't get his rocks in a box.
Mm-hmm.
And because he's seen me, I see him, and there's a common thread of acceptance and forgiveness in those moments.
Right. Exactly. In our classes, we teach parents all the time to try to catch kids being good. We call it a 4-to-1. For every one time I correct you, I try to find 4 other times that I'm praising you. It doesn't have to be a big thing. I mean, let's say you were running down the hallway and I told you not to, and I called you over to me and you came, and I praised you for coming when I called you. I'm still going to correct you about the running, and but I am going to praise you about coming and about accepting my criticism and about walking back through the hallway when I asked you. And so when parents realize, oh, they're all around me, praise opportunities are around me, really creates that balance. And here on the Boys Town campus, we definitely every day, the family teachers, those are the family teachers live in the home with kids, Gina, and every day they have time that they go over a kid's school day or their day, how they're feeling, and talk to kids. How were you feeling, and what skills did you use to manage your emotions when you were feeling that way or when you did this behavior? And giving kids an opportunity to have voice and have time and have space to talk about their emotional resilience or their inability to have that emotional resilience at that time, and what they can do to change that for the next opportunity that they're going to have, right? So yeah,
Exactly.
we agree with you.
Yeah, and that I like what you said, Bridget, too, of creating and cultivating a loving environment for those days when our kids feel like their emotional resilience might not be at its strongest. And they come home from school, and we talk so much in our lives on how do I get my teenager to talk to me when they're going through things? Or, it doesn't have to be like a one designated check-in. Bridget and I have given several tips on, if you're driving, dropping your child off at soccer practice, that's 5 minutes of open time where you can just do a quick check-in and say, how are things going? How is that friendship going? Or maybe they're older and have a boyfriend or girlfriend. How's that going? And kind of keeping like an open forum for that.
Yeah, post-COVID, unfortunately, we saw a lot of divorce rate go up. I hate to say that, but we did see that. So I see parents in our classes who are co-parenting. And so we begin to talk about having that daddy date night and a mommy date night where you take some time for each child that you trade, that you're going to take time to talk to kids, especially when they live in 2 different homes. That resiliency can be frayed by that whole scenario of 2 different homes. We're talking as if you see the kids every day.
Right.
But those parents who are co-parenting are having to adjust to that, 2-home family. So yeah, definitely something we have to check on a daily basis with our kids and not just assume that they're doing okay until there's a problem. We want to be more proactive than reactive.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
And if they are having those days where their emotional resilience is really not, helping them kind of cope with those feelings, what tips do you have for parents who, as we talked about, it just hurts to see your kids struggle, but how do we help them get through it? Do you know?
You know, when I see those kinds of moments, when I've been in those kinds of moments,
Mhm.
I think that there is a hug can go a long way toward, sometimes you say too much, and just that physical touch can be a really comforting thing where you're not trying to fix it. My
Mhm.
first thing is like, I'll just start talking, and I'll just, like, hey, here's 18 different ways that you could like, no, I'm totally, and so just like a pat on the back, you know, let's take a walk together
Mhm.
and not talk about anything, but we're just going to take a walk and just be
Mhm.
in community.
Yeah.
Um, the same way you can, when you mentioned being in the car, when you get them in the car and you know that there's something bad,
Mhm.
maybe just drive and give them a little bit of space and grace
Mhm.
to get to give you that information. I mean, yeah, you can ask them, but sometimes if you're in their face all the time, it's like, oh, they're
Right.
not ready for that,
Exactly.
especially not first thing.
Mhm.
So take a walk and don't say anything for the first 5 minutes, but then lead into something as you go around the corner or something like
Mhm.
that.
I think, you're absolutely right about that. Creating the opportunity, and if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, kids know that that opportunity is always there. It's not like I don't always have the door open and that I create opportunity, but I don't have expectation or say, you must talk to me now. But I think parents also have to be paying attention, close attention to frequent mood swings or anxiety, or that they get really crushed by minor setbacks. They have these statements of feeling hopeless or worthless. When I hear those kind of little red flags going up, then
Mhm.
that's my opportunity to take the drive, to create the space and give the grace and say, I'm here, and to maybe even allow kind of a check-in subtly, but that it's there for kids. So I think, that's very important, paying attention, and not, sometimes we get so busy in our everyday lives, before you know it, you're tucking people in bed. But just your
Mhm.
wonderful little book, opening that up, creating that space, that place, that time to talk about love, to talk about hope, to and giving that to kids, and you can do that for older kids too.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Gina, how do you see it making an impact on families for parents and their children reading your book together?
Um, I loved read alouds when Wyatt was young. It was always a great time. And like I said, I always want there to be the adult message in addition to the kid message, or I don't want it to be something that I think, oh man, we're going to age out of this book.
Mhm.
I just got a message yesterday from somebody who was reading, um, actually, it was the Hope book, but with her 11-year-old, and I'm like, okay, that's great, because that's an older kid, not a, like the 7, 8, 9-year-old. This is an older kid, and just that, working on that idea of optimism, that you've done hard things before, you can keep doing hard things. And when you say pay attention, I think that those are the kinds of things that we as parents really have to take note of and be super, super, super specific.
Mhm.
If you can, if, for instance, if I say you've done hard things before and I don't name anything, then who knows what that hard thing might be.
Right.
But like my kid, he figure skated, and it's like, look, you learned how to do an axle jump, and that was really, really hard, and it took you a long time, but you just kept practicing and you kept working on it for a period of months, And eventually you were able to land that jump and move on to another one. So just be patient with yourself and don't push so hard, and you can do these things. I think being specific with those kinds of things, it really does help kids to understand that, hey, I remember that. I remember that time that that thing happened, and I was able to figure it out. Because sometimes, their life becomes a blur to them, and they don't remember. Because if they're frustrated, they're
Mhm.
busy being frustrated about the thing that they're frustrated with now. Not like, oh, but I was a glittering success 2 years ago. Who cares about that? It's tough right now.
It's
So
so
we
new.
we as, we as parents have to be
Yeah.
there with that information for them and say, hey, you
Yeah.
did this.
Yeah, we have to definitely acknowledge their feelings while they're having those feelings. That it's okay for them to have those feelings and validate their struggle. It's not easy to do that double axle, it's not
Mhm.
easy to get that grade that you were going after or to be on the team that you wanted to be. But offer, practical assistance without taking over. I like to praise kids, but I'm not solving this for you. I'm giving you some clear expectations for yourself and where you're at and what, what this is to you, and some coping mechanisms to get you through the process that you're going through. So I think that kind of models that resilience, that it's not about achievement. I remember my son, we had to put him in a special school for his reading, and he knew it was costing us a lot of money, and he felt like really pressured under that. And I was like, I'm not grading you. I'm not, by, we're looking at the effort you're making. If you're Are you making an effort? Yes, I'm really trying. And I'm like, good, that's exactly what we want you to do. And before long, that just kind of melted kind of his anxiety away. And then he began to excel and being able to get the grades and to learn. That's all we wanted him to be able to feel comfortable learning. Yeah. So giving that feeling of safe, and it's okay to try and to fail. You learn through the failure. It's fine.
Exactly. And I think one of the other components in that is, the serenity prayer about,
Uh,
the things that you can change and the things that you can't, and the wisdom to know the difference between the two. And I'm like, yeah, that wisdom to know the difference between the two, that's the real kicker on that one.
yeah.
Because particularly with young kids, they think that they can control the whole world, but they can't. I can control whether or not I get on this team. No, you can't. You can control how much you practice, and you can control how coachable you are when you're there at practice, and
Mhm.
you can do all of these different things. But in the end, it's going to be a coach's decision as to whether or not you're on the team or not on the team.
Right.
And so the more you focus on the things that you are in charge of, the better off you are, because those are things that give you efficacy and agency, and like that. If you're spending all your time trying to fix things that you can't fix, you're only going to end up more frenzied and anxious and
Mhm.
all of those negative things.
Definitely.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. Well, lots of good takeaways here. I feel like the theme of this conversation, teaching emotional resilience, a lot of it is teaching our kids how to be confident in
Mhm.
themselves and in their abilities. And the way that kids feel confident is when they feel loved. So us as parents having that takeaway during Teach Love Week at Boys Town is, if you want to teach emotional resilience, the best way to do that is to focus on the love. So great conversation, and there are definitely is a great way to do that, and that's going to be by checking out Gina's book.
Yeah.
So we have it linked here in the comments of this video right below it, and of course wherever else you're watching this, we'll make sure to link it everywhere you can get. And Gina, congratulations on another great release.
Well, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you all so much for joining. If you don't mind, please go ahead and like this video and share it with another parent who you think might find it helpful. And make sure to teach love this week. We'll see you next month. Thanks, everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.